Hello, I'm James Cridland, the radio futurologist, and every week or so I write a newsletter all about the future of radio and international radio trends, and this is it for March the 9th, 2025. Emergency radio broadcasting, ABC Radio Brisbane excels. Now, this time last week I was looking forward to travelling to Radio Days Europe, but no such luck, because if I open the window, then you can probably hear... Yes, there's quite a lot of rain and wind there. Let me just close that. There we are. Yes, Tropical Cyclone Alfred has hit Brisbane and it's cancelling flights. And therefore I wasn't able to travel. And anyway, wasn't going to leave my family here either, was I, to be honest? As a fun fact, Tropical Cyclone Alfred was going to be called Tropical Cyclone Anthony, but with a pending election here in Australia, it was wisely felt that Prime Minister Anthony Albanese might not be too impressed with the company talking about the destruction caused by Anthony. So it was officially changed. Now, at first, we felt that we'd got away with it. The cyclone calmed down a little, and we didn't get the scarily high winds that we were first expecting. But then came the rain, and a surprise set of high winds around 24 hours later. And as I'm recording this, much of southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales are coping with flooding, torrential rain and uprooted trees. More than 300,000 households are without electricity. Some will be without for many days. ABC Local Radio is well practiced at emergency broadcasting with a clear format that it slips effortlessly into. The output is tight, clear and unsensational. Not built for drama, but instead built for human connection. It's a mix of regular communications from authorities, information from elsewhere, and plenty of call us and tell us your story from wherever you are. Imaging is built to be reassuring. Little pre-recorded segments tell us how to prepare. And all the more impressive when you note that the ABC was doing the entire radio coverage from the boardroom of a local hotel rather than its normal offices. The ABC's studios are built on the side of the Brisbane River, and during the last floods, the building's basement was flooded out, and with it, the electricity supply. They were taking no chances. So a hotel was chosen that was 57 metres above sea level, rather than the ABC, which is less than 5 metres above the river. And the ABC had planned ahead. Much of this emergency coverage was simulcast across 3 ABC local radio areas, and as a tacit acknowledgement that everyone doesn't have AM radio receivers anymore, 612 ABC Radio Brisbane also took over ABC Classics transmitter on 106.1 FM in the city. A wise move, it turns out, since for almost 2 hours on Sunday, the 612 AM transmitter fell silent after a failed generator. And just before it came up, 106.1 also fell silent for 2 minutes for some reason as well. It's the power of multi-platform radio, meaning I could keep listening through the TV, in fact. Radio's place in time of emergency is a bit of a trope, and in many cases isn't really a given, with many broadcasters eliminating local broadcasting altogether. At least one Brisbane commercial broadcaster thought it was fine just to broadcast non-stop music between 9 p.m. and midnight, for example. But in this case, as hundreds of thousands of people were left without power and without internet, the ABC was their only connection to the outside world, and it's brilliant broadcasting. Now, on the web version of this, you can hear an entire hour of programming from the ABC, because I think people might learn a little bit from it. But here's a little taste.
This is cyclone coverage on 612 ABC Radio Brisbane and Queensland.
The windows rattle a fair bit. Now we've got consistent rain and getting a bit heavier now.
I'm at Burleigh Heads. It is wild, rugged and kind of evil out there as well.
Just a lot of rain and, checking the elderly neighbours and seeing if they're going all good. But, yeah, a lot calmer than I expected, to be honest.
This is Cyclone Alfred coverage on 612 ABC Radio Brisbane and Queensland.
And thank you, ABC. At least we get info from you.
There's a whole hour of that over at james.cred.land and just find the blog section. Now, in other news, I was on Radio 4's Feedback this week, talking about the closure of BBC Sounds internationally. There's a link to that from the link in the show notes. Some fascinating stuff from the UK's CNMA consultation about Apple and Google's mobile ecosystems. It turns out that both Radio Centre and the BBC both submitted their concerns and thoughts. And much of the BBC's response is very interesting. Though being fair, some of the BBC's response is trying to have their cake and eat it. I've written a full blog post about this. I won't bore you with it now, but you can certainly find that james.crid.land. I'm currently having to deal with 20 times the podcast download traffic for my daily Pod News podcast, which is fun. According to the rules, they're all valid downloads, so perhaps I should be claiming them, but they're not, clearly. They're all coming from either Malaysia or Indonesia, all from Android phones. It's all a bit weird. Can't quite work out where they're from. A link, again, in the show notes to that. And a link to this. Last month on World Radio Day, I was on BFM in Malaysia. The World Radio Day segment starts at 12 minutes and 15 seconds, 12:15. And brilliantly, World Radio Day was all about climate change. And they asked me to record something, so I did, directly into WhatsApp, because that's how they asked me. So that ended up going out, and that sounded quite good. And if you're listening to this in Athens, firstly, I mean, why? But also, secondly, have a lovely time. I'm waiting for this rain to die down a little. Let me just check. Is it still? Yes, it's still raining. So, yes, I'm going a little bit stir crazy, but at least I do have power, which is something, and internet, which is something else as well. So sorry I can't be with you, but make sure to see the session about marketing at the end of Tuesday in track 3. I've bullied Wade Kingsley, into doing that for me, so that we can have another person from Australia on the stage. Where I'm speaking next, though, Radio Days Ireland in Dublin, March the 27th. Definitely be able to go there. Looking forward to it. Evolutions in Chicago, March the 31st. Radio Days in North America in Toronto, May 7th. The podcast show in London from May 20th. Podcast Movement in Dallas, Texas, August 18th. Radio Days Asia, which probably September the 1st to the 3rd, I believe. And Pod Summit in Calgary in Canada. It's Pod Summit YYC is its name, from September the 19th. And thank you to the many supporters of this podcast and of the newsletter as well, including Play It Software, Soma FM, and Media Realm, all excellent for supporting me, plus personal supporters Greg Strassel, Sam Phelps, Richard Hilton, Emma Gibbs, Jocelyn Abbey, and James Masterton for being regular supporters. If you would like to support my work in any way, buymeacoffee.com/James Cridland is a nice place to go. You can just give a one-off coffee or 5, or give regularly on that, and that's all good. You can follow me on Mastodon at james@bne.social, and my website has more details about who I am, what I do, and if I can help you further. There are also various versions of this column translated into German at Radio Zine, if you would like to go and take a peek at that. But until next time, keep listening.